Hi there, welcome to the Azure 101 series. My name is Brian Harrison, and in this video I want us to talk about the Azure Application Gateway. Now the Azure Application Gateway is at its heart a load balancer, but it is a application load balancer, which means it only does load balancing for HTTP or HTTPS applications. However, it does provide a number of additional features, including some security features, which is why we want to make sure to focus on it. It provides web application firewall, it provides URL routing, and things of that nature. So let's go ahead and jump on over into the portal and take a look at how to create one. Okay, here we are in our portal, and I want to go ahead to All Services and type in Application Gateway. So here we are, Application Gateways. And let's go ahead and create one. Now I'm not going to actually go through the process of finishing the creation because these do tend to take quite a while to actually start up. But I do want us to go through the actual process of creating a new one. So let's call this the App Gateway 101. There are multiple tiers. You have Standard, Standard v2, WAF, and WAF v2. The Application Gateway has been around for a few years now, and they have recently, within the last 6 to 9 months, released a version 2, which improves performance and provides a lot of additional features. The Standard is just the load balancer version, so you're getting the application load balancing as well as the URL routing, but you're not getting the web application firewall to help you prevent from intrusions and vulnerabilities and things like that. So let's just go ahead, for the sake of this moving forward, let's go ahead and choose the Standard v2, but so that you can see that there is in fact a difference. If we choose WAF v2, really the creation is no different, but the configuration would be different. So first of all, you can turn on auto scaling. The big difference between the App Gateway and your standard load balancer inside of Azure is that you actually can have multiple instances of the App Gateway to provide the best performance possible. And that also allows you not only for high availability, but for fault tolerance as well. You start with a minimum number of instances, set a maximum number of instances, and then with auto scaling, of course, it will go ahead and spin up and spin down based on performance of the App Gateway. You, of course, choose your subscription, choose your resource group, and then you choose your regional location. You also have the ability to choose your availability zone. If you happen to be using multiple availability zones for your application, absolutely make sure that you spread the app gateways across those availability zones. I'm just going to go ahead and choose zone 1, but you can choose multiples. The one thing to keep in mind here is that your virtual network and public IP address must be in the same location as the gateway. And what it means by that is they must be in the same region and absolutely should be in the same zone as well. If you plan on using existing resources, also ensure that you select the correct location. So let's go ahead and click OK, move on to the configuration. Next is we need to choose the virtual network that the App Gateway will be associated with. So I'm going to go ahead and choose my VNet 101 that I did. You're then going to choose a subnet that the App Gateway will be placed into. Obviously the public IP address will be the entry point for the App Gateway, but it should absolutely have access to resources that sit inside of your subnets. You then specify a front-end IP configuration. Most customers leverage public, but you absolutely can specify private if you should so desire. You're then going to specify whether you want to create a new public IP address or use an existing one. And then you're going to configure the public IP address based off of SKU, DNS label, some of the standard things that you would normally do in creating a brand new public IP. I'm just going to go ahead and leave all of this alone. You're then going to specify the listener for the App Gateway. Are you either going to listen on HTTP or HTTPS? And of course, this is one of the big differences between the App Gateway and your standard load balancer. Because your standard load balancer, you can actually listen on TCP, UDP, and specify multiple port numbers. You're then going to specify whether or not you're looking at HTTP2 or not. You're also then going to determine whether you want the web application firewall enabled. Now, if you're choosing the WAF tier, the impetus is that you're probably going to want to use the firewall, but you do not necessarily have to have it enabled. You can actually keep it turned off until you're in fact ready. And then with respect to the firewall, do you want it in detection mode or prevention mode? And the distinct difference is that one is just going to log each potential vulnerability. Prevention is actually going to stop things at the door. And then, as you can see here, to view your detection logs, you would have to enable diagnostic logs after the app gateway has been created, and then specify a location for those logs to be placed, either a storage account, Event Hub, or Log Analytics. If you choose prevention, the logging goes away because it's stopping things at the door. You still, though, may want to turn on the diagnostic logging so that you can see when those particular events occur. Once you click OK, you go to Review and Create, and you'll go ahead and create your app gateway. I'll go ahead and do that behind the scenes, and then we'll come back and we'll take a look at some of the configurations that can be done beyond what we've already seen for an existing app gateway. Okay, here we are, and we've got our app gateway finished creating, and it has been applied. As you can see in this overview area up here at the top, it's been put into my Azure 101 resource group in East US 2, and it has been put into my VNet 101, specifically into the default subnet, and the new IP address was applied to it. Now, the rest of this is pretty standard. You saw how it can be set up, and it is very similar from a load balancing perspective. You do have backend pools, you do have listeners, you have rules, things that you have health probes, things of that nature, front-end IP configurations. Those are all pretty well the same between load balancers and Azure App Gateways. The difference, of course, being that you only have access to HTTP and HTTPS as far as listeners are concerned. The big differences, though, fall under the configuration section, which is where you actually can define your minimum and maximum instances and whether you want auto-scaling turned on or not. You also have the ability to change the tier right here directly from within the Azure portal. The other thing to point out is from the security perspective, which is the web application firewall. And I love this feature. It's not necessarily as thorough maybe as a Cisco device or a Barracuda device that you can purchase as a third-party service from the Azure Marketplace, but it does provide a tremendous amount of capabilities. So first of all, specifying the tier. Do you want the firewall turned on or not? Do you want it in detection or prevention mode? Then you can actually specify exclusions inside of the web application firewall by specifying certain request header name, cookie name, or attribute name. You then can specify, do you want it to start with, end with, equal contain, or equal any, and then actually specify a value. This will allow you to add additional detections or preventions. You can also specify, do you want to inspect the request body for global parameters, and then you can actually specify sizes of the files. But really where the power comes in is the rule sets that are available to you. You have two different rule sets available based on the Open Web Application Security Protocol, 3.0 and 2.2.9. Now, depending upon which one you're familiar with, you can specify which one you want for your app gateway deployment. But where it really gets to be feature rich is by clicking on the enabled button, you actually have the ability to go into each individual rule and turn them on or off. By default, they're all going to be on. But if you're really more focused based on your particular web application on Request 931 application attack, then you can absolutely make sure that that one's on, but turn the rest of them off as an example. So hopefully this gives you an understanding of how powerful the Azure Application Gateway can be and how it can be used for both load balancing capabilities as well as an endpoint security tool for your application as well.